my advice always is be aware of your surrounding. Understand where you're going and where you're coming back from. And don't do the thing that looks difficult. If it's hard while you're seeing it, it's even harder when you're doing it.
Hello and welcome. Today we will talk with Asil mainly. He's the main guest today, and co-host is Timea. Timea actually gave me the idea to really go deep into all the crazy stories with Asil because he has so much to share. And today I really want to talk about all your sport background, the hiking, how you got into it, all the crazy adventures you went through, and what it is actually you do, because I know there is also scuba and all that, but I'm mainly interested in that hiking part and maybe telling all the rescue stories around that you were involved or partially involved in.
Okay. A rescue, I don't think I was.
Your brother
My
was
brother
rescuing
was
a couple of
someone,
people, right?
Once or twice, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's a casual thing in this community, right?
Well, first of all, thank you for giving me the chance to talk about this. I might have a lot to say, so...
Well, let's go for it. How you started?
How it all started? Well, I was born here in UAE, and I come from a family, or specifically my dad was a very active guy. He used to play football at school, and he represented my country at the university level. He used to play as a goalkeeper, although he was really good as a midfielder.
So we're talking soccer.
Soccer. Soccer
okay,
basically.
Football. Okay.
And he had the black belt in judo, and he used to play ping pong as well. So my father,
that sounds right.
Yes. So yeah, different variety. He actually won a tournament with a broken hand. So he was playing with the right hand, and his left hand was broken with
judo.
No, ping pong.
Okay.
With a ping pong. Oh, that would be impressive. With a broken hand and judo. So as you can see, I come from a father who had this thoughts that I want my kids to grow with being active. And as kids, I remember that he told me, I used to use my left leg to play football, although my right hand was the dominant. So he used to tie my left leg and try to push me to play with the right leg. And with that, I strengthened my right, and now I play with both my legs.
Okay.
So I use my left and right leg to play football when I used to play football. And then he pushed us into swimming. And there was never ever a summer where we didn't do an activity, me and my brother. So instead of being lazy kids, he would push us. Either we did a swimming course, we did karate. I didn't like it. I reached the orange belt, then I stopped. We did some sort of a scout kind of activity, but it was with the police. It's called the Police Friends. So we literally had to wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning, 6 a.m. we're reporting. They taught us how to march, to use the guns, how to clean the Kalashnikov, to break it into pieces and bring it back within. I was the fastest in my group. I think I did it in 18 seconds. I would disassemble it and reassemble it again in 18 seconds.
And how old you were?
I was in grade 9, so I would be like 14, maybe probably 15.
When you said that your parents was representing the country, what country was it?
My dad, we're Palestinians, so he was representing Palestine at that time for the universities.
Okay,
level.
and then they moved, and you grew up here.
Yes, so my dad went to Jordan once he graduated, then he came to UAE. My mom went to Libya, and then from Libya she had a contract here before my dad, and then they met over here, and then they got married here.
Okay.
And this is how the rest of the story.
So you were even in UAE manipulating with guns. That's pretty rare, right?
Yes, under supervision, basically.
Of course, yeah. Well, it should be anywhere.
We were allowed to shoot the Roger guns, which is the gun you can put 5 bullets in. It's the old movies. It's like a revolver, but it's called a Roger. I remember. I don't know if my information was correct.
Roger, isn't it a brand?
I think it's a brand, yes.
Okay,
yeah. So as you can see, this is one of the things that pushed us always to be active. My brother wasn't interested in football or any kind of sports that related to a team. Maybe basketball a bit, but he was always into single kind of stuff. But however, we were always active.
And you were how
I'm the eldest.
What is the
difference is 2 years.
2 years. Okay,
2 years.
That's pretty cool.
I mean, I remember we lived in a villa, so we had a yard, and I used to always kick the ball. So the wall was my friend. So whenever I tried to have him play with me, he'll play for 5 minutes and be like, no, I don't want to play.
So you were playing team sport, but on your own.
On my own. No, I think I broke the wall or damaged it multiple times. My dad was like, what am I supposed to do with this game? But I know for sure that he would have rather seen me doing that instead of me being lazy. Well, TV wasn't a big thing at that time. We're not millennial kids. Besides this, I don't...
and no offense taken.
Yes. Oh, no, not at all. Okay. So, and then also, my family were a family that loved going outdoors. So my dad's first hobby, let's say, is fishing. I don't even remember any time we've bought fish. It was fishing, and fishing in different styles. So it was, what do you call it? While free diving, so spearfishing, either fishing with rods on the boat. I remember I saw a barracuda that was about 1 meter long, fished here on a boat. It scared me to crazy. I was, I think, 13 or 14 the first time, and there were men in the boat. There was like 10 people in the boat, and it was massive. So experiencing all this got me into knowing that. Besides, when I'm talking about my family, we would either go for road trips, so towards the mountains of Fujairah, or Oman wasn't that big deal right now where you could go for. We'd go and camp on the beach for 3-4 days. My dad literally handmade a tent, not by himself, but he went to someone, he manufactured a tent that could fit 3 families. And we would set it up and stay on the beach. So we would eat, drink, do everything on the beach for 3 days.
Almost like gypsy
style.
Gypsy Wanderer style.
Have you seen Peaky Blinders? Of course. Yeah, well, definitely. But we didn't have a horse and a cart.
New season, actually. New season coming on Netflix.
Yeah, it was June 10th. I can't wait for it.
Yeah.
So, and then the desert, of course, because it was in the backyard, basically. Whoever didn't go to the desert didn't do anything. So, this, I think, built that mentality or depth inside of us that we need to do something when we grow up. So when we grew up, I was into football. I was mad about it. I just wanted to do everything. So I was playing for the school team. I was playing for the university team.
Football is generally like one of the most popular sports here, right?
Absolutely, yes. Unfortunately, it's not supported well for the public. One, it's because if you're a foreigner, you're not allowed to play for a club.
Uh-huh.
So that you have to be a local. I think a few years back, just recently, they allowed whoever his mother was a local would play for a club. I could train if I was allowed to, but I wasn't allowed to play for the official games. Mm-hmm. So football was only for the regular tournaments between areas, between groups, between friends. We would set up tournaments, Ramadan tournaments or whatever it is.
What that means, like you start and you go play?
No, definitely. But the Ramadan, because people start late, they consider Ramadan as an activity evening. So you'll see a lot of volleyball fields being set up with lights or football tournaments happening in the evenings because the weather is better, definitely. And just because people have longer hours to sleep. So, well, they take it as an excuse, basically. Yeah. And then in the university, I got introduced to volleyball, despite me being that tall. So I learned a bit of volleyball. Swimming, as I mentioned, when I was at school, I actually entered 1 or 2 tournaments locally because I was practicing swimming at the club, at Treasure Club.
What kind of swimming you were?
I was doing freestyle, 50 meters or 100 meters. And I can't remember, I don't know how to call it in English, but when they have the 4 people and then doing different styles?
Like a relay.
Somehow I'm not sure, but yeah, people doing like the butterfly, the back, and then I'll do the freestyle then.
Okay, yeah, I'm not sure about the actual name, but it's a kind of relay type, where everybody's covering different part of it, exactly. And you go as a team.
Yeah. So I did that for a few months, which was fun, like understanding that competition, and traveling with a team and then staying in Abu Dhabi in a hotel, we don't have that much of this, to be honest, here. Maybe now it's available for schools and stuff like that, but we didn't have that years ago. And then after I graduated, I got to understand what traveling meant, and I owned my first off-road car. And I didn't know what I was doing. I just went to the desert, got stuck multiple times, here and there. I met a group of people through Facebook.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, please.
Let's back up.
Yes, sure.
You bought a car.
I bought a Jeep Wrangler. Yes.
Okay. You bought a Jeep Wrangler.
Yes.
Went to desert. Got stuck.
I knew a little bit of desert from what I've seen my dad. By the way, I have to add dad and my aunt's husband, who was a young gentleman who owned a Jeep Wrangler. He was fit, like cool guy and stuff. I grew up like thinking, I want to be like that guy, the rooftop is off and he's just driving and all this. So it was super cool. And
now
so
people looking at you like that.
I would love to be considered like that. I hope so. And, so yeah, I went to the desert. I got stuck, met some friends who didn't know other stuff as well, like me. And we just kept doing mistakes, trying to learn. Went to areas of dunes where for me now it's just like you could walk on it, to learn, driving the desert, from. And then, as I said, I saw a group on Facebook in 2008 that said Jeepers in Dubai, something around this. So I just joined them, met the guys, and nowadays off-roading became a sport where people will actually go join a club. They have a logbook. You go through lessons. It's for free. But I think there's a joining fee for the club. But then they teach you how to, every single thing to do in the desert properly. For me, it wasn't like that. You deflated the tires. Here we are. Follow us.
Okay, so the procedure, just to explain for people who have no idea what off-roading in the desert means. Yes. What is it about? What you do, what you have to do?
Well, now it's on this level where I am now. Well, basically we reached to the point where we're starting the point. We deflate the tires to a certain PSI. So the air inside is measured in a different, either a bar or PSI. So the US, they use a bar. Here we use a PSI. So we drop the level of the tires. Why do we do this? Because we want the tires to go on a wider print. When the tire is fully or filled with air, the car is a bit struggling because it's digging. It's like having as if wearing high heels and trying to walk on the sand. While if you're wearing a flat shoe, you're having a bigger print on the sand. Mm-hmm.
So you're widening the surface of the contact.
Exactly,
of the tire
and softening the tire as well.
And softening the tires.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
can we have somebody coming to me? I'll deal with it.
Sure.
Cool.
So we drop the PSI depending on the area we're going to, depending on the style you're driving. So if you're driving slowly, you go to 15 PSI, for example, in the dunes area, which is not massive dunes. And then when we do the extreme style of driving, which we're going high speeds and areas like Liwa Desert, which is closer to the borders, the sand texture is different there. So we drop to 10 PSI or 8 PSI. So that's the first procedure.
So you're also partly like geologist because you
we
need to know the fineness of the sand.
Well, I think it becomes something normal because the areas here are just limited. Okay, you know what? This is what's good for the car.
Yeah, but you're doing it for 20 years, right?
15.
15 years. Yes. So then
I learned
for
a
you
lot.
It's normal.
Yes, I learned a lot, yeah. I mean, there's areas where the sand is like dust, and that's the most terrible area. I think in Africa, they call it fisfis. It's where you drive in it and it just becomes like a proper cloud in front of you. You can't see. And rally drivers struggle a lot with that. Because you could hit a rock or hit a problem. So we don't have this here in UAE. It might be tricky in some areas, however. Anyway, so we drop the air from the tires. That's the first thing. We do a safety brief and we do a brief of whatever the plan is. The style of driving, if the person knew the area, he mentioned the duration of driving. We put the GPS if we share together. We use walkie-talkies to communicate together for an easier way instead of stopping. If somebody is at the last car or the first car, we don't know what the people at the front, they don't know what's happening with them. So if someone had a trouble with the car, had a pop out, which means that the tire came out of the rim, due to a certain type of driving, so we have to repair it. It's easy. It's not easy with time. You learn it. I had plenty of these when I started. It was crazy. Like I would get stuck or had pop outs a lot of time. Seatbelt, of course, is the most important part, or one of the safety measures that we consider.
You're not wearing helmets or anything. Like
No, we're not wearing helmets because. First of all, we drive Jeep Wranglers, and Jeeps usually they have this safety
cage
bar inside. Mm-hmm. Exactly, cage. But we're not. Yes, sometimes we go up to really high speeds, but I don't think we deserve to wear a helmet. That's how I would see it.
Okay. It's not that dangerous.
It is dangerous. Look, helmet is a safety thing. Anyone could wear it, but we're not like rally drivers where we go up to 140, 160 kilometers per hour. I might know people who do that, but not my friends. Because, we go out for fun. There's a danger line. We don't need to reach that. Like, fun could happen on a lower level than that and enjoy it. Then why risk it to that level? You want to go and come back alive. You don't want to go and just, knock yourself.
That's these people who climb like Mount Everest and shit, right?
Yes.
Like that's their number one rule. I don't care if I go all the way up. What I care most is if I can actually go back
down.
home,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Because you could reach the point. You could reach it walking on your on your hands and legs,
Yeah.
But the most important is how to come back, because you could reach and die. So what's the
I
benefit?
heard of one guy who I was on his lecture. He was, I think he covered 7 the highest mountains in the world.
Okay.
And one of them, I can't remember if it was K2 or which one was it. He only got on 4th attempt. And when he was there 3rd time, he was 50 meters from reaching the top, but he knew he is not going to make it. He was the only one left. Everybody else already started to back up and return. And he was just staring there. He knew it would take him a couple of hours because of the terrain and snow and all that. And he's like, yeah, I can get there, but there is very little chance I will be able to come back afterwards. So he just turned and bye-bye.
Well, he did a smart move.
Well, yeah, then
I would assume
he
it's
came back and...
I would assume it's K2. K2 is the toughest terrain in comparison to Everest, though it's lower than Everest.
There was this... Yeah, it's lower. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's this documentary on Netflix. It only came out a couple of months ago. Meru, it was called.
I haven't seen it yet. Is it good?
Sure.
I've seen 14 Peaks, and that was amazing.
I haven't seen that.
I would recommend it. That's beautiful.
Meru was about a couple of guys who were trying to reach this impossible mountain. It was never done by that
shark fin, because it looked like a
like a shark fin. Okay. Oh, it's a sharp edge. Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, and the challenge of that was that I think people climbed that, but not the road they were picking.
Okay.
And it required all different styles. I don't know much about this to talk about it into depth, but there is, when you only hanging, which is more like a mountain climbing, there's more towards hiking, different terrains, different equipment, and they needed shit ton of equipment for all of the different parts.
Of course.
And they didn't make it one time. Then they came back. A couple of them got like insanely injured. One of them got run through by avalanche and still survived.
Oh wow!
And then they were like, "Oh well, let's go again." Yeah, watch it.
I'm sure. I would love to. 14 Peaks talks about a group of Nepalese people that decided to climb the highest 14 peaks in the world within the shortest period possible. They did it in 6 months and 6 days.
Great.
They climbed Everest and I think the other 2 mountains that are next to it. So basically, they don't start from the bottom; they start from the base. So the base could be 4,000, 5,000 meters. Like Everest Base Camp is 5,800. So they start from there. They did the 3 of them in 6 days. You know how many days people need to recover from one? It's just months probably. They're Nepalese and this is their terrain. However, it was an achievement that deserved to be appreciated.
Yeah,
I would recommend a documentary. It's on Netflix.
Okay, I watched it.
Yeah, it's called 14 Peaks.
Okay, anyway.
So back to the off-roading. So you were asking about how it goes as a procedure. Now whatever I mentioned now is me being equipped with the group. And of course, this didn't happen with all of a sudden. I learned about this, but I'll come back to that if you allow me, and I'll tell you through whatever I do. So off-roading allowed me to understand what camping was, despite me doing it as a child, but we did camping even more. That we do it in a luxurious level now. Like we started with sleeping on the ground, then, a mat, then a sleeping bag, then a bed, then a tent, and it goes on. Now I have a 6-people tent for myself and a queen size inflatable mattress that I took that from my brother, a bed sheet, blanket, pillow. I have a car that can fit also all this. but I just want to sleep properly.
regardless where, just
Where it is,
quality of the sleep
it's important. Yeah, I wake up after 7-8 hours of sleep and I'm like fresh, even more comfortable than home. Well, I think it's because of the outdoors.
Yeah.
So I learned what camping was, and then I got introduced to mountains, driving in the mountains. What if you're an off-roader with 4x4 in the mountains, they call it rock crawling, because you're literally crawling slowly on it. And that's a different technique, a whole totally different technique. And you need the car that's equipped for that, because the suspension of the car could not allow you to what they call a travel. So when the tire goes to the maximum extension, so the suspension has to be set in a way where it could go as the maximum. So you can't go ride big rocks unless you have these bigger suspension. Now, of course, I don't do this. I don't like mountains that much to drive on them. And then when I saw the mountains, I went into hiking. I'm like, ooh, this looks interesting. It's a new terrain.
Also mountains, but on your feet.
On my feet. And I did a few of them while I traveled. And then I shocked myself by doing the Annapurna base camp. So Annapurna 1 is the 10th highest mountain in the world. It's an 8,000 plus. So I went to Nepal, equipped and taught with the information from my brother who climbed Kilimanjaro a few months before that. So I went by myself. I only had a guide. I refused to have a porter, because the idea was, why would I have someone who carries my stuff? But honestly, I regretted that, because I was carrying a heavier bag than I needed, or I could. And having a porter would have allowed me to have extra stuff with me. And at the same time, I would have carried the stuff comfortably for myself. Mm-hmm. So I struggled a bit. And besides, I learned later on that I'm giving him a job, which means food on the table for him.
Oh, yeah. So that would be the support aspect.
Exactly.
Of it. Mm-hmm.
And then I had an injury midway. I'll speak about it later. But I managed to reach the base camp. And instead of doing it in 10 days, I did it in 9 days, despite the injury in my knee. But then I loved hiking and I started doing it even more. And this
was like your entry to hiking, to go to a base camp of the 10th highest mountain.
Yeah, because whatever I did before was not, carrying a backpack and carrying all my stuff and food and water and all this kind of things and wearing the proper boots. And it's just regular hiking here, which now we consider it as a beginner hiking.
So how it occurred to you that this is a good idea?
I got into solo traveling before that. And I was sitting down and I'm like, where should I go next?
Okay.
And I found a deal where I work at Groupon, and Groupon at that time had packages and travel packages. So I saw Nepal and there's this package. So I communicated with the company. I'm like, listen, I want to do this. So they're like, okay, we can set up for you a guide. I had an excellent guide, by the way. And I did it. But if I would go back, definitely you have to be prepared. You have to be mentally prepared. You have to be physically prepared. You have to know what you're doing. You have to understand what hiking is, the challenges, etc., etc.
So you think you were not ready enough?
I wasn't ready enough, no. Despite, at that time I was doing CrossFit. That was the first year I was doing CrossFit, and I wasn't fit enough for that. Because I wasn't doing it here to understand how my legs should work, how I would push myself even more, what to expect next, how to get over the challenges, because it's all here. You might be physically tired, but it's all in your brain. So I remember the second day I was like, what kind of vacation is this? What am I doing here? Why am I here? Vacation is we're supposed to chill and relax.
Those second out of 9 days, you already had this question.
I tell you why, because it was 7,700 steps up on the second day. Someone counted them and noted it at the top. That part, it was 7,700, not man-made steps. But
so you had kind of checkpoints there. Yeah?
Yes, checkpoints. Yeah. But and my guide was like, we're going to be moving from this spot to this spot. And it was 7,700. I swear midday, I'm like, should I turn around? I'm like, this is not worth it. But now I would definitely do it. I'll do the full circuit, because they have a short circuit to reach Annapurna, or you do the full around the circuit of Annapurna, which is 14 days. And it's a beautiful experience. You have also to remember that the challenges you faced on the way I faced on the way were different. With that same year, I got introduced to scuba diving as well, because I'm a sea kid. I was born next to the sea, basically, and I've done free diving in a brief, let's say, and I spearfished a bit with my dad. I don't eat fish, so I didn't like the spearfishing, killing my friends, basically.
Okay. Any reason why you don't eat fish?
I used to, but then I have an allergic reaction to it now.
All right. So there is a...
Yeah, so I think because we used to eat it like 3-4 times a week, my body somehow disliked it. If I eat shrimps, I'll start getting like swollen and all this kind of things. And I love shrimps, but I can't do it. So yeah, I got into scuba diving and I loved it a lot. But I didn't progress more than doing the activity. So basically, I reached to the advanced level, which allows me to go to 30 meters depth. But I could go to like rescue and then become a master diver, etc., etc. But I didn't see the benefit of it. I just understood, like, I just considered it as an extra hobby or a sport that I want to add to my list of things. After scuba diving, I got into horse riding. So I took a couple of lessons and I just go every now and then into the desert and we canter in the desert and we ride horses, which is a beautiful experience. I would definitely recommend it. It's a good way to burn calories too.
Who brings horses to the desert?
Well,
how does this work?
There's multiple stables. There's plenty of stables actually that are located next to the desert. And it's because, the Arabian horses were made for the desert.
Sure.
And Dubai has the Qudra area. Was actually, the Qudra means endurance. So they do all the races, the endurance races over there. We're talking about riding a horse 100 kilometers, 150 a day, of course, on stages. And these horses are trained and the people are trained to manage to do the sport for that long.
They do these kind of challenges also on camels, right? Or similar?
I think they do camel races. They used to have kids ride it, 6 or 7 years old. But then...
Because they are light, no?
Because they're light and etc. But then incidents happened where kids died, etc., etc. And I understood now that they disallowed it and they have a machine. I think either remotely controlled or it's just... and that tries to push the camel to run faster. So it's like hitting the... how they hit the horse? Like a robot on the top. It has a manual hand just to push the camel.
It's so weird.
It's a very expensive sport here. The camels cost a lot more it's more expensive than the horse.
But what I was getting into, because I've seen that, because a couple of Slovakian, Czech people who I know here, they were posting about it. They did this kind of challenge of learn how our ancestors lived in the desert, and they go for 15, 20, I don't know how many days from point A to point B on camels.
Here in UAE?
Yeah. And you get a training how to take care of your camel, and then you can get picked there. And it's also for foreigners,
I would do
for
that.
expats.
I would do that.
You would?
I would definitely do that. If I have everything and I know how to ride a camel.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You have a training to do.
Okay.
If you pass all the tests, then you will be picked for it. It was a big thing because then they had pictures with Sheikh because he surprised them.
I think I saw the picture when he surprised them. Okay, yes.
He surprised them as a surprise visit.
Okay, yes, I think I saw something like that. That was like 3-4 years ago or something.
It's every year.
Every year,
It's every year.
I would love to do that. I know there's in Sharjah, there's a place where you can actually take a horse or a camel and then they set a camp for you. So you ride to the camp, you spend the night next to your horse or camel, and then you come back the next day in the morning. It's like in Morocco, they have this in the desert as well. You ride the horse, you ride the camel, you sleep with the camel next to you. Honestly, these experiences are the most important for human beings, the outdoors, because we are always in our safe zone, and the outdoor is the freedom. And this is where you learn a lot. And this is where I learned a lot, to be honest. I learned a lot about myself, learned a lot about the world, about others. Oh, Jeep, definitely. I mean, this is my second Jeep, and I've been driving it for 15 years. I mean, not the same car, but I mean, I was just telling my friends 2 days ago, I just want another car. I just want something that's quiet because it's noisy, etc. Yes, it offers me whatever, it suits my lifestyle. I just want that peace of mind.
Bicycle. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. If my work was close, I'll not use my car. So yeah, after scuba diving and then horse riding, what did I get into? I'm very interested, and I'm thinking to do this for my 40th, since it's this year. I've been thinking about it for a long time, which becomes a licensed skydiver. By that, I'll have the knowledge about sky. I'll have the knowledge about on-road, and I'll have the knowledge about scuba diving, so underwater. So all these...
You're like a true seal, sea, air, and land.
Yeah, could be.
Plus, you have some little experience with weapons, right?
No, that's too far from that. Yeah, I think I can consider that in the list.
Base.
Yes,
it's a good base. Like a civilian seal.
Yeah. So yeah, also besides this, I do paddle boarding as well, and I have my own paddle board.
Yeah, of course.
Well, thanks to my girlfriend, she got it for my birthday, and what do you call it? I did rafting in multiple countries, in different places. The hardest one I read was Eagle River in the US. The temperature of water was -2, I think. And it just was freezing cold.
How it can be minus? If it's minus, it's ice.
Sorry, it was 2 degrees. My bad.
Okay.
It was in Fahrenheit for them minus.
Oh yeah.
Celsius.
Fahrenheit, that would be like 35.
In minus? I think so. Yeah. It was
30. I think 37 Fahrenheit is 0 Celsius, something like that.
I thought it was the opposite. No.
No.
Oh, okay. My bad. My information is incorrect. We don't do Fahrenheit here anyway. So it was 2 or 3 degrees because it's the melting ice from the mountains. But yeah, the rapids were very high and it was nasty. But it was the first time I learned rafting or did it was in Thailand, so it was just easy. But in Nepal, I did it. It was crazy. We're talking about rapid 4. And I think the maximum is rapid 5.
What that like?
So the height of the rivers when they hit a certain bottom, they create like a big wave.
Okay.
So that wave height is considered as rapid, and so rapid 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
And you enjoyed it, or
I loved it.
Yeah,
I just loved it. I know I was struggling, but it's just so much fun. It's just crazy. And I tried the single kayaking thing, but I tried it here in Alain. They have Wadi Adventure, I think it's called. They have those artificial rivers. I almost drowned. Because the first lesson is all about how you should learn how to flip if you roll in it. So it was all about this. You roll yourself and then you have to get out of that. And I drank so much water that
I can tell you one story from my studies in Denmark in Gerlev Intrat Højskole. That's the type of the school they have there. And I spent 4 or 5 months there.
Okay.
And there was a windsurfing course.
Okay.
You could book like your main subject. For me, that was CrossFit. And then you had different courses that were exchanging either every month or every 2 months. And some people went for windsurfing. I didn't, because that would mean that you go to the sea, and like I just didn't like the idea. Yeah, I just stuck with CrossFit and art. Anyway,
art.
Art.
Okay.
I was drawing.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. 2 different.
Stuff. I mean, work your weaknesses. Not like it helped, but it's better than it was before. And there was this group of Chinese students who were not that great in understanding English.
Okay.
But given the culture and their education system, they are not really allowed to tell a teacher that they don't understand, because that's putting blame on teacher, right? And these guys were enrolled in windsurfing. And long story short, after a couple of sessions on the sea, and exactly what you're describing, the practice of if you are in a kayak, how to flip down, head down, and then how to get out. When they had this practice in our school pool, the teacher learned that a couple of them, they can't swim.
Oh my God.
They already did a couple of sessions on open sea, of the windsurfing.
That's even worse.
That's like,
They couldn't even say that? Like they saw water, they didn't.
I can't even imagine what was going on in their heads and how they felt, because like you're going to a sea, you can't swim, You're very well aware of that. But you are not going to tell anybody because you're scared that they'll blame you or something. Yeah. I mean, nothing terrible happened. We got then, for the very similar reason of never saying I don't understand, we got one guy lost for a couple of hours after triathlon because he turned wrong. Yes. And then, it was happening a lot with these guys. They just, like, the language barrier, I'm sure, plus the cultural differences, it was creating a lot of, at the beginning, pretty dramatic, but at the end, pretty funny situations.
Of course. Nothing you're laughing about it now. Yeah, exactly.
Well, we were laughing at that time as well.
So, I also, since you mentioned windsurfing, do you mean which is kite surfing? Is it windsurfing the same? Oh, no, or the windsurfing is the other one.
They had
the one on the board. On the board.
Yes.
The triangle one. Okay.
On the board, the triangle one, not with the kite.
Okay.
Not with the kite.
Because I got into kite surfing as well. What happened is I traveled to Zanzibar. And I wanted to do scuba diving and other stuff, but then the weather condition didn't allow. So I had 5 days, and I'm like, I was in a village or a small town called Paje. I was in it also last year in July, and that was in 2015 when I'm talking about. And I saw the kite surfers, so I'm like, okay, I'll take a kite surfing course. But I was unlucky again with the weather. Sometimes the wind was down, so I couldn't do this. And then whenever I wanted to do something, they want to teach you something called a body drag. So when you lose your board, you use your kite to drag you in the water towards the board. So you need that to be shallow water, to be high tide to learn how to do it.
Mm-hmm. Or you'll break your legs, right? Like
you got the sea urchins or whatever is on the ground that will hurt you. At that time, it was low tide. So I couldn't learn. And then when we got on the board to learn how to get on the board and do the 10-2, which is the kite movement, it was high tide and it should be low tide. So it was just a mess. I couldn't finish the course. Came back to UAE. Then I got busy with my life and didn't finish the course. I see them here in Dubai and I'm like, this could have been fun. I can learn it, but I just...
our friend Agatha, she got this.
Okay.
She got this course with some guy in Abu Dhabi, I believe. She was going there
it's a good area
for
to learn
sessions,
there.
And it's tough.
It's tough.
For stability, you're constantly in like quarter, half squat. It's just like almost. Everything is burning. Upper body, then you're beaten because it's just...
but after some time, it becomes, I think, like any other sport, it becomes normal.
I have no idea. So
it requires a lot of strength, of course, because there's a lot of pull included, and the harness is on your waist, so your core should be strong and all this, which is good from strongman, by the way. Strongman.
Strongman is great for everything.
All these, as you can see. So I grew up as a child with parents who pushed me to do sports. Mom was always scared for us, like, don't injure yourself, don't hurt yourself, and so.
I mean, you just in the last 15 minutes, you said a couple of countries, couple of all sports that can be itself considered pretty dangerous,
Yeah, well, I've done that and I've done other stuff as well, like dangerous stuff. Like, I mean, I did the tandem skydive and I did 4 bungee jumps. One of them was backwards.
What? Backwards?
So it was here in Dubai. It was in 2013. And it was closer to Safa Park. I did it the first time in Thailand, and I just liked the experience, the feeling. Like, I didn't get scared. I just jumped, and it was a lake, so you jump in half in the lake. It was a 50-meter high.
Just jump, Easy. You heard that story just like maybe half a year ago, 8 months ago. It was in, I believe it was like South America, and there was a couple doing bungee jumping. And there was a sound signal, like a beep, where they were supposed to like run and go. And she did, but it wasn't her turn and she wasn't clipped on. So she
Oh my God.
Yeah. So it was signal for her boyfriend to go and jump, but she was somehow overly excited and she just jumped into this 50-meter ditch. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But she had the harness, she just didn't have the rope on her. Crazy. And it was on the video. The guys, they didn't even have a license, so they were investigated after, and so much.
Oh, shame.
Yeah, so always when you do it,
be safe. Trust me.
Always make sure that the rope is on.
So yeah, I did the bungee jump. So in Thailand the first time, then the second time I did it in Dubai. It was a Friday, And the guys were like, "You're so cool. You're like relaxed, and there's nothing about it." I was like, they were like, "Can you do it backwards?" I'm like, "Yes, do it backwards." So we booked an appointment the Friday after. In between, and on Monday, I did the tandem skydive. I learned from myself, skydive is less scary than bungee jumping, because bungee, you're taking your own decision. With tandem, there's someone pushing you. You're trusting the person. It's like holding your hand while crossing the street.
Okay, so that's easier for you then.
That's what I felt. And you could see it in the video. He's pushing my chin up. He's like 1, 2, and he's pushing my chin. He doesn't want me to look down. I don't have fear of heights, blessed with that. So I'm just trying to look. I want to see the view. The palm is there, I just want to see it.
You're just about to jump off the plane with this guy on your back. He just doesn't allow you to look down.
I can imagine. So he said 1, 2, and then suddenly I see the bottom of the plane, because when we jumped, we just turned. It was just right there. So the Friday after, we went through the jump and the bungee jump, and I did it backwards.
And you just do jump, or you just fell back?
You lean back.
You lean back?
Yeah, they teach you not to, or they tell you not to have your hands open, because your reflex you'll grab something. So your hands are closed, unless you're too fast, you'll grab something. So you basically just lean back. I have the video, I'll show it to you. Okay. I hang the GoPro on the top just to record myself.
We did this in that school in Denmark. There was above the pool, there was a tower, not too big. I think it was 2 meters.
Okay.
And somehow somebody told us, and we didn't know, but somebody told us that if you just stand there on the edge and you just let yourself fall forward, that 2 meters, it's exact distance that you need to flip to a perfect dive by 180 degrees.
Okay.
So you're standing and you end up going directly into when you touch the water, it will be right with your head going straight down. It's very hard to relax there, but then we're like, okay, well, let's try. So we're just trying it backwards, forwards, and then we're trying it 2 people, one in a handstand and the other one holding his feet, So you got a person to a handstand, you grab his ankles, you come to the edge with him, and just 3, 2, 1, and you just slowly flip.
The upper one becomes the head down, and the opposite.
Yeah. So the guy who is standing in the handstand, he will land on his feet.
Yeah. Okay.
And it was working. It was working all the time. It was so much fun. But as you said, with holding 2 people, I think I found it easier when we did it 2 of us, because you had something to hold.
Okay.
I had way bigger problem to relax.
Yes, of course.
Just let myself fall into that water. I mean, you're saying of course, but just jumping off the planes and doing bungee jumping.
Did you have to close your Look, bungee jumping is because you're trusting also another fact that first you have a safety net or whatever is below.
Well, there wasn't a safety net in Brazil.
I'm coming to tell you now. Yeah. And
there is a safety net.
No. It's in Dubai it wasn't a safety net. Those balloons, the big thing that they blow if someone is trying to jump from somewhere.
Yeah, like the firefighters do that when you have to jump up.
Yeah. So it wasn't a pool or a water.
But would it help?
I don't know.
Because you're going head down anyway, right?
It was huge, and I trusted it, and I trusted the rope. So
how
it was
long?
50 meters high.
50 meters.
By the way, that 50-meter rope is actually 11 kilometers of strings. So they show you the string that's inside, and whatever that rope is actually 11 kilometers.
So there's very little chance it will pop.
A snatch. Well, accidents will happen anywhere, but it depends on your luck. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard, not like I researched it, but I don't think I've ever heard of anybody dying on the bungee jumping because the rope was
snatched. Maybe, it could be a problem in the...
Or maybe some amateurs doing it on their backyard,
Could also be, maybe. Yeah. I did the 4th jump in Nepal from 150 meters. At that time, I think it was the 3rd or the 4th highest in the world. And it was just, there's nothing that's safe down there. It was just a river in a canyon or a valley, and it was just what do you call it? A river at the bottom. And following that, I did something called a canyon swing the same day. So basically,
that was I was just about to ask you if you did
I did the canyon swing. Honestly, whatever I tried, this was the scariest thing I've ever done in my life. Like with the extension that I had on my helmet and the GoPro, you could see my eyes popping. I was scared because you're basically free falling. Do you know what canyon swimming is?
Can you explain it?
Yes, of course. So basically you're on the bridge. Consider yourself like you're going to do the bungee jump, but instead you're standing on the podium instead of your feet being tied, you have a harness on your chest, on your waist, and you're clipped to a cable that's attached to a bridge on the other side or opposite to you. That's far. So you're going to jump and free fall for 5, 6, or 7 seconds, depends on the height. And then you just you swing below the other bridge and you just swing.
I did this kind of swing from, no kidding, 4 meters.
Okay.
And I was screaming like a little girl. I don't like heights. I mean, I eventually, because I had to do rock climbing as a part of my uni.
Yeah.
And always first session of the cycle, or, you know, like when I was getting into it, every time it was just holding at the top until I fell down when I was supposed to go down, because I just like the trust issues that to let myself sit into it and go slowly down, that just wasn't happening. Then eventually, I did first time, second time, it started to go better and better and better. And then eventually our exam was climb a rock, it was maybe 25, 30 meters.
Okay.
You have a spotter at the bottom.
Of course.
And then you need to retie all the knots and shit. So you are making yourself to go down. So you are your own spotter on the way down. Yeah.
Okay.
And we need to basically show all the skills for that. So I can get used to the height, but that I was just like, okay, I'm holding this thing. I'm attached and I'm supposed to swing. I was like, oh my God, that's so hard. It was 4 or 5 meters.
Okay. Well, look, each person has you might be a person that's not scared of dark, and I could be the person that's scared of dark. So, fear is, are you scared of heights?
I don't know.
Like when you stand on the edge here from the balcony.
No, she's only scared that our cat will jump down.
Okay.
No, I'm just looking down and thinking, what can happen if I fall from here?
Okay. You did hiking before?
Yes.
Have you been to edges? Like, did you stand next to an edge? Did you get like a fear? You felt your knees are shaking?
That one is fine
for
me, but when there is a tall building, then, because for me it's not natural. You know, or maybe natural way of dying. So I'm always thinking like this. So I would rather, because, you know, you can hurt somebody else. But in the mountains, you are not going to
So if you are supposed to fall from the cliff, that's okay. But from the building, no.
Because she's not hurting anyone.
Yeah, because you don't want to destroy the car down there.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah, I have that when I'm on the edge of somewhere. Not like I would get like crazy dizzy or something, but I'm not feeling super comfortable. Yeah.
I think it's normal. We see it a lot, especially while hiking. I'm saying it. I'm blessed in being feared of heights. I don't have that fear of heights, and I sit on the edges usually. I take pictures, videos, blah blah blah.
There are people who doesn't have something in the brain.
Calling me crazy?
Especially native Indians.
Okay.
They don't have it, and they don't have fear from heights because something in their brain is missing.
Okay.
What is cause of fear of heights? So maybe you just don't have it.
Well, I'm glad I don't have it.
Have you never had it, or
I never had it.
Do you know some people who had such a, in your circle, who had such a fear or something, and then they got over it just because practice?
I remember, I think in one or two hikes, because in hiking you meet different people, and you always, all you have to do is just talk while hiking. And I think I have one or two people who mentioned that they used to get really scared being close to the edges, and they're fine now. I'm not sure how they treated themselves. I know it can be treated like any other kind of fear.
Usually the fear treatment is about exposing yourself in a very, very tiny bit.
Also, it depends why you have it.
Could be. Yeah, it's a child trauma or something. Like I, for example, I'm claustrophobic, but not to an extent level. Yeah, exactly. That's why I think I love nature and outdoors.
Yeah.
I got locked in a place.
That's why you
in
have
a dark
a tent
place.
for 6 people.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, if I'm driving my car for a very long drive, like suppose I'm heading to Abu Dhabi, and which is an hour away only, and my windows are closed, I would open the window a bit just to feel like there's fresh air coming in. If I'm watching a movie and someone is like, they put them inside the trunk or a closed room, I just feel like my breath is not in that spot.
And elevators?
No, that's a good question. Everybody asks me this. I think because I know there's an AC or a fan or whatever, so the circulation is there, I just feel okay with it. But how long do you stay in an elevator anyway?
Yeah.
My discomfort comes from staying long inside a place.
So flying?
No, never thought of that. Don't put it in my head now.
No, because my mom has
End
it
of your
too.
travel.
My mom has it too, so that's why I'm asking.
As I
And
said-
she has problems with everything.
Okay. No, I don't have it as a peak. Like it's minor, thank God.
Oh, but Tima's mom, she has it as she needs to know where is the exit and she needs to be able to reach it. So even when she's in a underground garage, she just needs to see where the exit is. If she can find a way, she's way more comfortable. And then things like train, bus, plane, they will not stop for you, right? So that is making her very uncomfortable.
Yeah, well, I understand the struggle she's going through. So let me tell you about the injuries now, and how it started. So as I used to play football, as I said, and I was tiny in size, and I used to play as a striker. So we're not professionals. So we don't stop. The defenders did not stop me in a professional way. What they had to do is to kick me. So I always came back with bruises in my leg. The first injury I had, I broke my left ankle from both sides. The guy jumped intentionally to break my leg. I scored the 2 winning goals. And he's like, I'm going to hurt you. He said it. No one heard him. And of course, we're playing football. Like, you can't go complain to someone, this guy broke my leg. And he just jumped in a bad way on my leg. I heard my ankle. I heard it breaking, like while flipping in the air. And all he did was like, sorry. And he left. His teammates, 2 strangers, took me to the hospital. It wasn't
What kind of match was this? Or
it's just, it was in Ramadan. It was a tournament between the areas. So between my area and the other area. And, so anyways, they took me to the hospital. They put me in a cast. My dad didn't like the way it was wrapped. And, we went to another hospital. They were like, you need a surgery. So I still have the metal since 2001. So they had to put a screw and an L-shaped kind of, metal to hold the ankle from the right side. And on the left side, I had, like a piece of metal with 6 screws to attach the bones. Doctor said, you're not supposed to run in like 9 months. In 4 months, I was in the football field just limping and passing. I was a kid. I honestly, it was a big problem. It was an issue. Sorry, it wasn't an issue. I'm saying it caused me an issue later on because my ankles are not flexible. Like I struggled to do overhead squats and stuff like that now because I didn't do the physio that was supposed to be done. I didn't heal properly, basically.
Tima had similar. I mean, it was.
I also have like less mobility in my left ankle, but I can compensate with the hips, so I can do overhead squats.
But how did you break your ankle?
I have motorbike accident with my father, so car hit us from the side.
Oh my God!
But like Tima had like the leg was shattered
probably.
Yeah.
Right?
She still has a scar and
like it was the least problem.
Sorry to hear. So I was 18 at that time, and then 2005, we were just fooling around in the park with the football, and a guy who was almost 2 meters long or tall, and he was like 130 kgs weighs as 130 kg. He slid against me, so his knee hit my right ankle, and the collision caused my right ankle to dislocate. The doctor managed to return it back. Of course, my ligaments were damaged and I was in the cast for 2 months because there was this very small, tiny bone that was broken, part of the leg. But he was like, it's just the ligaments that needs to heal properly. I took a few physios at that time because I was a bit older in age, a little bit understood. But again, I went back to football. And then I broke my right hand. I'm not going to say how because it's not something I'm proud of. But I needed surgery, and I still have the metals since 2014.
I broke my hand on my brother's head as well.
Okay, that you said, I actually punched a guy. I kept punching a guy on his face until I broke my hand.
Mine was just one punch.
Okay, I punched him a lot. It was a self-defense, to be honest, but I'm not proud of that. I don't recommend fights. Violence is not an issue. Violence is not.
Well, this is actually something which I don't agree with, because violence is always an answer. It's not the best answer for sure. Yeah. It's usually not great answer. But it's an answer. And violence sometimes will, it will move the energy. It will sort out certain things. And some people, they just, you tell the situation, how it happened.
My friend and I got attacked by 4 people. 3 of them jumped on me. And the guys were big. So we learned in the neighborhood that the only way to protect yourself in this case, get hit, but grab someone. Like you can't hit 3 of them. So I grabbed one, and apparently he had the biggest head. So I kept punching his head until I broke my hand. I didn't feel my hand got broken until I got away with it when it got colder. But I had to defend myself. I got knocked. The first hit I got, I was pulled, thrown to the ground, and then I had a knee in my face. So I just literally was dizzy. I didn't know what I'm doing. So I was just punching wildly.
Why are you saying you're not proud of it? I'm not saying that you're supposed to be proud of the fact that you hurt somebody.
Yes.
But
because
this was pretty, I can't imagine more legit reason to
use violence.
Hit somebody.
And also that you can defend yourself.
Yeah, because I remember the guy was bleeding over his eye. And now I keep thinking, what if I hurt that guy in his eye and he stopped having sight in it?
Okay.
Or if I damaged my hand and I just stop using my hand forever. This is what I keep thinking about it now. But at that moment, you can't think about all these being logical in your thoughts.
And if the guy would get hurt, this might sound very cynical, but maybe he will not do it again, right?
Yeah, he wouldn't do it again. Yeah. I doubt he would do it again after. Because as long as he was bleeding over his eye, I must have cracked his forehead or something. Literally 2 months after that, I dislocated my left elbow because I was quad biking. Oh, I forgot to mention quad biking as well. So I was quad biking in the desert and I landed incorrectly on the bike, by doing a stunt, and my thighs hit the front steering wheel, and I flew. And I think a normal human reaction is you use your hands to land. So I landed incorrectly on my left elbow. I'm blessed to have my brother there at that time. We were only 3 people. We were deep in the desert. He was logical. He took off my helmet. Second thing. I bought a helmet a day before. If I didn't have the helmet, I would have broke my neck. You could see it from I had the GoPro attached as well, and you could see me landing on my hand and then my head after that.
So you have all of this recorded, on your GoPro?
If it's from 2013, yes. Anything before that, no.
Well, that's how you got famous on Instagram. Maybe. I wanted to just say one thing, because you said a very important thing that resonates with me a lot when you said the natural reaction is to put hands in front of you when you're falling. Mm-hmm. That's very true. And part of my studies, first semester, we had something called ukemi-waza, and it's way how to fall safely. Uh-huh. It's ukemi-waza, it's a Japanese term for that. It's basically falling techniques. Okay. We had subject at school 100% focused only on falling techniques. If you fall forward, backward, with a speed, if you have your feet swiped from under you, how you fall to the side, how you stop the momentum once you're falling, and all of that, because the school was very, very much oriented on martial arts, self-defense, and all that. We just needed to know that, right? And the people who built the program were very smart about it, and they gave us this before we were doing any other martial art.
Okay.
So yes, it is a natural reaction, but there are ways how you can reprogram that by training and learn how to. Definitely this ukemi-waza is way more suitable for impact that can be, for example, somebody shoving you from the back, not a quad bike throwing you off.
I actually fell again after that, but I managed to flip and land on the backpack that I had. So, landing on back is wrong as well, but the bag took the hit.
The main rule is keep rolling. You need to get yourself into position where your joints are not taking the impact, but the momentum of the fall will keep you rolling, and that's how you absorb the impact eventually.
It's like, I once jumped from the first floor, and I remember, I had an exam. My parents locked the door, and I'm just like, I didn't know what to do. So I picked my mattress, threw it out of the window. And then when I jumped, I remember I watched a movie or a program or whatever, that when the moment you touch the ground, you need to jump immediately to avoid the full impact on your legs. And it worked. I managed to reach the exam.
Okay. So you threw a mattress out of your window?
My mattress. Yeah. Then my parents, when they came back, they found the mattress outside. Let them understand that. Can you imagine how long that took them to understand that?
Okay. You have time. Je 4:10. Okay. Tima will leave in 10 minutes. Okay.
So, you're talking about this. So and you were telling me about how to land and keep rolling and etc. So my brother came, he took off my helmet, back to the story of dislocating my left elbow. And he was like, tell me where's your pain? Now, just to remind you, none of us has any medical background. So I was like, my hand is hurt. I could see it just not in its place. And I'm like telling him, pull it back. So I think I bit the gloves, socks, whatever it is. And I'm like, I bit on something, and he pulled it. And I could feel it like rejoining again to its spot. And I'm like, I think it's back. So I tried moving it, and it looked like it was fine. I think then I told him, feed me, I'm hungry. Maybe my sugar level dropped. I don't know what, but I think the shock was hitting me. I don't understand. So we had food with me. He gave me food. 10 minutes later, I relaxed. He's like, we need to get out of here. So I was on the bike, right? I had to ride it 20 minutes out of the desert.
Pretty deep, yeah.
I was okay with that because it's not broken. It's dislocation. Yes, it broke a part of a bone because later on with the X-ray, you could see, because it, as I understood, that the joint of the elbow is like a ball that's in like a bowl. So when it gets out, it breaks like two corners of the bone, like the clips that are holding it. That's what I understood. And apparently it's broken. So, but the fact that it's not hanging, it was easier for me to ride the bike. But of course I had to ice it on the way to the hospital.
But it was painful, right?
Dislocation is more painful than a broken bone. That's what I feel.
I had it in my collarbone, and within 3 minutes after it happened, like I couldn't use my arm.
Oh, wow.
Like practically at all. Anyway.
So doctor said I don't need the surgery. If you want to think I'm crazy, while I broke my first hand, I didn't have a manual car, I have an automatic car. I used to go to the desert and drive. And then the day we took the cast out, we drove to Liwa, and we drove 120 kilometers after that in the desert for 2-3 days. And then when I dislocated my right hand, I'm like, my left hand. I'm like, I'm more controlling through the left, but still I can go to the desert.
So you're still going?
I still went, yeah.
Okay, well.
Yeah, so now then my knee. Remember I mentioned that I had an injury while hiking. So I tore my
that was
my
in
meniscus in Nepal. In Nepal.
What was the
Annapurna.
Annapurna, yes.
Yeah. So on the way to ABC, it's Annapurna base camp.
Okay.
On the third day, it was raining, and we were supposed to reach the where we call a tea house, or a village where you can stay in for the night. It was raining, and I slipped with a 12 kg on my back. My body movement was incorrect, so I felt something just broke in my leg. Well, basically didn't break. I tore my meniscus. So I rented a porter, and I insisted that I want to continue. I tied my knee from up and down, whatever, and I pushed, and I managed to finish. It's achievement to be proud of, but I think I should haven't done that because it inflamed my knee after that. I stopped playing or doing any sport for 6 months, and then I was playing football, and the guy had the ball, and he went right and left. I went right, I stayed left. I didn't come back, and I tore my ACL. But at the same time, I had so much to do in my life. Did the X-rays. Two doctors said the MRIs. Two doctors said you need a surgery. And the third one, he said, "Are you a professional? Why do you want to do the surgery? Just try to live with it. Stay light in weight, strengthen the muscles around it to carry the weight off the knee. And in all honesty, and you see me, we train. I can run. That's okay. Any movement that doesn't require side movements in a sudden way. Yes. Sorry, what were you saying?
Like rotations.
Yes, rotations, exactly. So hence why I can't do wakeboarding, for example. I can't do snowboarding or anything that's related to movements, sudden movements.
You know what we call mobility in the knee?
Tell me more, please.
Torn ACL. No?
Okay.
Because that's a joke. Yeah?
Okay. I'm trying like in the knee and then ACL. Yeah.
Yeah, mobility. Knee is not supposed to be a mobile joint. Knee is supposed to be a joint that is stable.
Okay.
So, you have the two bones there, or from the bottom, shin from the bottom and thigh from the top, and they're supposed to be very, very fixed together. You're supposed to bend it in only in a, heel to the butt.
Yes.
But not in a many angle flexibility there. And when this angle flexibility is required because of sudden change of the movement and all that, that's what you said, like you went but your leg didn't. Yeah, it stayed there. Yeah. So that's are the moments when it's all torn. So exactly what you said, what you can do. I have a couple of clients, a lot of clients who have ACL either torn or replaced, or even people who had it partially torn and healed, and even people who had it torn and, as you, never did any surgery for that. But by working around it and on it consciously, making the knee stable by building all the muscles around. But all the muscles doesn't only mean quad and hamstring. It's calves, quads, hamstrings, also the front side of the shin, and having very great control of all these muscles and having good mobility in the hip and good mobility in the ankle, you can actually make the knee very, very stable.
Yeah.
And Tima, you were saying that it's proven now that you don't actually...
There is a new study that your ACL can be healed on its own. Like it can recover. It takes time.
Fully torn or like certain level?
Full tear.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like these people who miraculously, like they will have a finger cut off and then it will regrow. There are some cases recorded because they didn't know it can't, They were not aware that it can't grow. Okay. It was very interesting in My Octopus Teacher. It was a movie.
Yes.
You've seen it?
Yes.
Yeah. Very, very cool movie. He was talking about like this octopus, like if it's injured, it will always regrow its parts, and many animals have this.
Like lizards as well.
Yeah. Like many animals have this ability, right? So why don't we have it? Or could we have a little bit more of a healing ability, self-healing ability if we reprogram ourselves, right?
Yeah. So I injured it multiple times after that by doing wrong stuff. But then I learned now how to live with it. And I still feel pain often, especially after hiking.
Where do you feel the pain?
In the knee from the side. So mostly, I think it's the meniscus, if I'm not wrong. Yeah.
Okay, Tima left. She needs to go. However, we keep going, and I have still so many things.
I was thinking about my knee injury, and these are the injury in the limbs. I've had many stitches. My forehead got stitched 4 times in different periods. The back of my head, my hand, my knees, multiple times. But being an active child, I think if you didn't get injured, you wouldn't learn. I wouldn't be happy. And we don't have stories like I have to tell.
That's what.
Yeah, that's how it worked. So we spoke about the sports or the activities or the hobbies I have, and then we spoke about the injuries. Now, I had a life-challenging period in 2019, something that changed massively. I stopped working out for a very long time from, I think, 2015. I didn't enter a gym. Well, let me tell you that I did.
From 2015?
Yes, till 2019. I just entered the gym like a month and then I stopped a couple of months. I would do sports like play football football. Well, after 2015, I didn't play. But I mean, I wasn't active as now. Like I wasn't being in the gym 4 or 5 times doing CrossFit or doing something like that. Just to let you know that first time I entered the gym, I think I was the age of 23, 24. Like I didn't do weight carrying or any weightlifting or anything as training basically in that level, except like doing football like 3 times a week. Or running. My dad's punishment to us if my brother and I would fight is to go and run, to just, put out that pressure. And guess what? He would tell us, we lived close to the beach, and it's close to Ajman, so he would tell one of us to go run on Ajman beach and one on the Sharjah beach.
Okay, so we can't go together.
No, we can't go together. We were fighting. And guess what? He'll be driving next to us and he honks like, I see you. You're doing the punishment. Well, I think it was a smart way to release that power or energy that we had in a way, and it was because it was good for our health.
Yeah, there is always a discussion about this. Also, I've seen a couple of CrossFit coaches pushing an opinion that the physical punishment, like training, is not a great way to imply a punishment on people, whether it's like burpees for coming late or, because it's giving you this negative connection with
the sport.
with that, like I only train when I am bad, or, like I only have to run when I'm not,
there's a point for that.
I don't have a proper behavior or whatever. So, I mean, look, like it definitely didn't push you off the sport.
Yes.
But you know what I mean? Like you can imagine some kids having a hard time to connect with physical activity because they had a negative experience in the past for that.
Well, you have to remember that we were not punished a lot to do that a lot. Like we were naughty, but we're not that naughty, hopefully. So in 2019, I went through a life-changing experience.
If I'll back you to 2015, why you stopped training?
I was so busy with work, and then, okay, I'm gonna say it. I got married.
Okay.
And this kind of life-changing thing got me so distracted from taking care of myself. Which I think in one of the sessions here, I think with Daria, she said, if you didn't take care of yourself, you will not be able to take care of everyone around you. And I do agree with her a lot about this. And now I've learned that. But I just ignored a lot. I was able to do a part of my hobbies, but I wasn't doing it fully. So I wasn't fulfilled with the happiness. I wouldn't blame marriage, of course. I just blame my time management and the way I handled it. But I was so busy with work as well.
Marriage was kind of a trigger.
A trigger to that, and then it wasn't at the end of the marriage, because unfortunately the marriage ended in 2019. I was 11 kgs heavier than now because I was just careless, and I went through an anxiety. And I had a very bad start of 2019 till mid of it, till I think June. I remember I had a panic attack or an anxiety attack, let's say. I didn't know what it felt. I didn't know what it was until the next day I understood. Like I went through all the emotions of it.
Can you describe it? What was happening?
I think it was 1 or 2 a.m. in the morning. I couldn't sleep. I was thinking about every single negative thing that was happening with me at that time. My heart rate went high. I was shivering. I thought I was having a fever. And then I just couldn't, I started working around the house. I just couldn't sleep the whole night. It was just like disturbing kind of, when I read the next day about those,
mess in the head.
I had a headache, mess in the head. I can't remember.
I mean, like, usually panic attack is also with like 1,000 thoughts that you can't calm.
Yeah. I had every single negative thought. Everything was just rushing in. Where did they come from? I know they're there, but why are you all coming at the same time? Just slow down.
One by one, please.
No signal. Just. So the next day, I read about it on Google, and I understood that this is considered as an anxiety attack. A week later, I woke myself up snoring, and I'm like, I don't snore. What is that? Oh my God, it's my heavy weight. For me, 11 kgs on my size, I'm 174, and that's too much. So I was like, you know what? This has to stop. I told myself, I know that I'm going through a bad time, but this doesn't mean that I have to surrender this way. Just to let you know, I was eating shawarmas or burgers at 2 a.m. in the morning. The ice cream buckets, I would finish it at one night. I was eating chips, chocolates, whatever, I was putting the anger.
That weight came from somewhere, right?
Of course it came from, I put that anger into food, or I was just filling that space basically with food.
You had like your comfort food?
It was nasty food basically. It was just...
because I heard this concept, I didn't even know that people were ever dealing with such a thing. And I was listening to one guy talking about people have their food when they're sad, they go for chocolate. I mean, this is an example. Not everybody who's sad going for chocolate. I know a guy who, when he's sad, he's going for a KFC.
Okay.
Then when you're angry, you do this. When you come after a tough day, you eat this and this. And it's always kind of a pattern. And people will eventually create a pattern of associating certain food with a certain emotion. And I was like, that's ridiculous. I was like, this is not real, because I never experienced anything like that. I am very specifically with food. I don't have any cravings, and yeah. And then I was just randomly talking to a couple of clients before the class. It was in Goldbox. And I was like, have you heard of this? This emotional eating? And everybody there was like, oh yeah, I do this when I'm sad. I was like, what the fuck?
I love Red Bull, for example, for the flavor, and it's attached to my outdoors. So if I'm on a highway or a trip, or if I'm scuba diving or hiking,
marketers got you.
I'll dream about it before. I use it as a trophy to myself. It's in the icebox in the car waiting for me just to come back and yay, Red Bull.
Oh, you can have the Frio now.
Oh yeah.
we got this amazing natural sparkling water.
I'm looking forward to try it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that somehow the study makes sense, that it's attached to certain feelings. Those kind of comfort food, as you call it.
And I was like, what are you maniacs talking about? what is this? And everybody was really, and they were aware of it. It wasn't like somebody else mapped them out, but they were really aware. I was like, a couple of them were teachers. I was like, every day, when I have enough of it, I just go for a chocolate ice cream and all this, and this is how habits are created, right? You have a trigger. Then you have a certain behavior, and then you have a reward for it. And you're basically creating a habit. Yeah.
It's a habit. I absolutely agree with you.
Okay, anyway, so...
Yeah, so I was saying about the anxiety thing. You have to note that the reason why I felt like that is because I sat down with myself thinking, what am I supposed to do next? Because I wasn't expecting this to end. So I was filling up the space with stupid stuff from my side actions. Maybe some others might not consider it as stupid. However, the first thing I did is I went and I saw a doctor. I did a full checkup for myself, and I realized I'm low on some vitamins. So he recommended the next steps. I decided I'm going to go on taking care of my health when it comes to sports. So I knew that I think you noticed that I like explosive actions. Explosive movements. So for me, the gym...
Jumping off the plane.
Could be landing on a mattress. So I decided, CrossFit is the only thing that could push me to work, because I will get bored in the gym and they wouldn't continue my progression of whatever I want to do for myself. So I joined Sans CrossFit, and since then I've been a member. And I managed to lose 9 kgs in, I think, less than 3 months. Now, what did I do for a diet? I didn't change my food diet. I kept eating the same food as 3 meals a day, but instead of eating the full plate, I'll eat half the plate. Because I didn't know what dieting was, or I didn't have the knowledge of it. I didn't know how to calculate calories and all those kind of things. And it worked. I dropped 9 kgs, but my mental health wasn't still at spot. And I remember the doctor said, go back to your hobbies, go back to what makes you happy. So what I did is I booked 2 back-to-back trips. So I went to Thailand and I stayed in an island for 10 days. I was just scuba diving in the morning, chilling in the evening, doing whatever it's possible to do in the island in the evening. Came back a month later, I was in Bali.
I can imagine that would help.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Also, because usually for also depression, also anxiety, the environment is a huge
100%.
trigger, right? So once you change that, it's just the challenge is that once you come after such a trip, how not to fall into the same trap.
Exactly. Absolutely. 100% I agree with you. So that's why I did a back-to-back trip. So a month later, I was already in a week time getting ready to travel again. So I went to Bali. Yes, it's another tropical place, but it just suits my intentions, my whatever I aim for. So I went to this island called Gili Trawangan, where there's no cars or bikes or anything. It's just people walking around. Very small island. And I was scuba diving in the morning, having fun in the evening, etc. Then I moved to I did some island hopping, came back as a different human being. Now, within that year, I almost lost my job because I was doing terrible in my job, and etc. So the year after started with an excellent fresh start. And thank God I'm here now.
That was COVID year, right?
It was, yes. Because what I'm talking about is this start of December. So I came back from the second trip, start of December 2019. Mm-hmm. So I didn't have enough time to practice any sports or anything outdoors because of COVID. But here I am, a different person. And I learned a lot, of course. And I learned that mental health is the most important thing. Your health is your second important thing, and so health is wealth. You can't blossom. You can't become a better person. You can't be a bright person without being a healthy mind and body. And that could come with different ways. It could be sports, could be hobbies, could be a book, or books that makes you happy. If documentaries makes you happy, but anything that will make your mind and body become better on a daily basis, it's important for you. And there's nothing wrong by being a little bit selfish, by taking care of yourself. Maybe selfish is an incorrect word to call it, but taking care of yourself is important.
Yeah. I would even stretch it a little bit to, I don't think that mental and physical health are separable.
They're together.
Yeah, I'm not saying everybody who is sick physically is also sick mentally. Mm-hmm. That's not what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Or everybody who has some kind of anxiety, depression, because it's just expression of disbalance, right? If you go towards depression, it's more understimulation. If you go more towards anxiety, it's overstimulation. Mm-hmm. If we very, very simplify it, right? And all of them have their own symptoms and all that, but you cannot separate physical and mental health because it's a two-way street. If you get better mentally, you are more prone to get better physically. Mm-hmm. That's also just healing through, and there is shit ton of examples for healing just through the attitude, basically. Yeah. And on the other side, if you train, we know, and that's not a voodoo shit. It's proven that training is actually making you better on the mental side of it.
Absolutely.
Of course, if somebody is in a very deep depression or somebody is in a very high anxiety, there are different types of trainings that they need. If you give them the same thing, it's not going to work. You need to give them very specific, for example, for anxiety, it would be something what can put their mind into an order. Not something where they will start to question even more.
Interesting.
Or imagine somebody is coming to a training with a high anxiety and you give them EMOM every minute on the minute. You need to make this amount of reps. They'll fucking they will stress them crazy because they're like, oh, will I make it? Yes. On one side, it can give them a little bit of sense of control because they know what is coming.
Yes.
However, the time factor will just stress them all the way. Crazy, On the other side, if somebody is depressed and they lack even reason of going there, if you give them long sustainable cardio for 20 minutes, they'll be like,
Hell no.
10,000 times they'll think for million reasons why to leave, because you give them that. But if you give them more explosive shit, something more towards just sprint there and back, then you can do whatever you want. 3 minutes rest. And then again,
that's very interesting, right? That's very, 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 very important to know as well.
Yeah, that's why my first question, this is very, very hard to do in a group setting. I'm not saying I don't like group classes, but that's not what I majorly do.
Because each person is in different mood at that time.
Exactly. And the workout is the same, right? That's you can see it when I coach around. Sometimes I change the workout and think for the person completely.
Absolutely.
I was like, you don't do this movement, you don't care about that. And it just kind of...
And why do you do that? Because you see that they are not in their day.
Yes, okay. because you can see that it's not doing good for them.
So it's not challenging them in a positive way.
Yes, it's making them more anxious, for example, or it's making them more stressed because they're like, oh my God, everybody's watching me now. You know, and nobody wants to be put on a spot in a bad way.
Yeah,
you know. Yeah. Well, some people not even in a good way. You know, like they just don't want attention. I had this conversation last week with one lady. I was asking like, oh, just how I do my recruitment before the strongman class. I just walk around and I'm trying to get everybody in the gym. So to join. And I just came to her and I was like, yeah, just come over. And basically after conversation, I found out that it's not about the strongman itself, but she doesn't like when there's too much attention on her. And when, for example, people clap for her. Oh, wow. She just doesn't want to be in that position. And because of the characters of the movement, we do a lot of repeated rounds, but you rest in between. So yeah, it is happening that people are watching you.
Of course.
The thing to realize, what I told her, is that they don't give a shit about you any much
They're
more
already
than
tired.
They have their own things to care about, right? But that's not how she saw that, right? Yeah. Which that makes her perception is creating her reality. So I was like, well, I 100% agree.
That's a nice way to say it. Your perception is your reality.
That's, I use it a lot. I think about it a lot because, like if you tell me, and this can be related to absolutely any relationship, if you tell me that I hurt your feelings, okay? And I'll be like, no, I didn't. Like, it's fucking bullshit. I did. I may not do it intentionally. I may not know that I did it, but I did it because your reality is that I hurt your feelings.
Yes.
And that applies to absolutely everything. Everybody has their own reality. For her, reality is that she doesn't want to be put on the spot, and Strongman is the class where we all are like cheerleaders clapping for each other. Even though when I say it like this, you just laugh because that's not the case, right? Exactly. You have no awareness of what is going on around you.
I'm not. I'm barely I'm thinking about how I'm supposed to breathe.
Exactly. Yeah. And this is another thing also for that anxiety and depression thing.
Breathing.
If you will learn how to control yourself, you will learn how to control. How to regain the control even you are put into a position where you feel like you're losing it. For example, after very hard carry or set where you're just completely off. But if you have that one thing to focus on, and that's the breathing, you'll bring your control towards yourself back.
Absolutely.
I want to ask you, when you do hiking, like, it's just like, okay, like I put my boots on and I go. Yeah.
That's not the way.
Exactly. Yeah, I know. I mean, I did couple of tourist hiking camps when I was a kid, where we went for 8 to 10 days into the mountains in Slovakia, and we were hiking nearby. We were hiking to a peak of the mountain. Then following day, we took a little bit smaller road, and we went to some cave, and then we like a present, we went into the cave, we saw what's there, then we went to an aqua park and whatever, just a summer camp for kids, but it was all about hiking. So within a week, we did 100 to 150 kilometers.
Nice.
Depends on what year it was. And the planning and all of that, like, we were completely out of it. We did nothing because the instructors were there to do it. They knew we even had an options, like, the advanced guys will go this road, and if you don't feel like pushing today, you go this way. Road, and you had more options.
Yeah.
What is the prep you need to do, especially in this kind of weather where the heat is a huge factor? We can get to some crazy stories after.
Yeah.
What happened? Not to you.
Not to me, but yeah, there's plenty of unfortunate stories.
Even a couple of weeks, right? Last week there was this.
Yes, the one we shared with me. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so first things first. If you don't know hiking, or if you know hiking as in a small amount, don't go alone. Hiking is is a sport that has risks. And if you don't understand what the terrain is, how to get out of it, if you don't know how to save yourself, how to save others, if God forbid there's something that requires saving, always use a guide. Get someone that has the knowledge about the area, about the knowledge of what he's doing. There's a lot of certified people in the UAE or anywhere in the world, but make sure that these people know what they are doing. And then, because the guide is responsible about you. These people, they will know how to care about you. You are paying them to bring you back alive. So you're not paying them to take you on the trip. You're paying them to bring you back alive. So they have to be worth it. And there's a lot of careless people. Unfortunately, YouTube and the internet makes it so easy. You search for anything. Oh, this is how hiking is. I can tie my boot like that and I can put this much in my bag and I can walk around. No, it's not like this. You have to know what you're doing. You have to know what will face you as challenges or expect to know how to react for that. So for me, for example, what happens in my bag, despite me going with a guide, I always take care of myself. I have a small first aid kit. I have what we call it a survival kit. It's a small box that has different kind of things. The first things first is a mirror. The number one thing that you will always need is a mirror because you can reflect to anything. Nice. And I have different kind of things that will make me survive, like stuff to turn on the fire. There's the safety blanket and all this kind of stuff. But it's in a small box.
Like the foil? Or
the foil one, the silver, the shiny one.
The heat one.
Yes, the heat one. Excuse me. And then I have my bladder that could fit up to 2 liters of water, and I'll have enough water with me as well. I'll have the Gatorade drinks or anything that will bring back the salts. Enough food that are light to be carried, so snacks, fruits, and stuff like that. I make sure that I have a GPS watch. So I make sure that my GPS watch is fully charged and my GPS is on, because you can turn it off. Because this GPS actually records the route where I came from. So if I decided that I want to come back, I'll use my watch to guide me back to it.
Oh, does anybody has a login into your details, so in case you go missing, your brother can see the road or where you were recorded at?
No, unfortunately not. No, I don't think there's anything like that, except like if you're connected to a server that's online and records it. I make sure that I have an extra t-shirt with me, because I could get sweat, dirty, whatever it is. I make sure personally, I get a Vaseline with me because I like to moist my toes to avoid my feet to dry. Your feet are your wheel tire, like the tires of the car, so they're important. A hat, sunblock, and all these kind of things. Despite me going with a guide, as I said, I'll always make sure this. And if I could read about the route, I'll read about the route to understand what to expect next. Now I do a hike by myself, but when I hike, I don't hike in extreme areas. So I don't hike for long hours, maximum 2 hours. And I do the maximum of 10 kilometers, for example. I don't go for the 15, 20 or more. I could, but why? Again, when I do these activities, I do it to have fun. So I just want to enjoy my time out and do it. Or I do it with my group of friends. And if I'm leading them, I wouldn't say guiding them, I would say leading them, because I'm not a certified guide. I'll make sure that I take them to places where there's signal for everyone, where it's safety, and I give them a safety brief.
Well, Etisalat is saying signal is everywhere, so it's not a problem, right?
You doubt. There's places where there's no signals, I'm sure. And I take them through a route, and I draw for them an image of what to expect and how to stay safe, and what if, God forbid, something happens, etc., etc. I forgot to mention that I always have 2 extra power banks to make sure that whatever happens, just to stay safe.
That's adding up, but together that's a couple of kilos on your back.
No. The small phone charging.
Yeah, but I mean all
banks.
of it.
Yeah, that would easily be 4 or 5 kgs. Yeah, with the water it will end up like 10. But this is the reason why we train, right? We prepare ourselves for this. And that's it. Yeah. My advice always is be aware of your surrounding. Understand where you're going and where you're coming back from. And don't do the thing that looks difficult. If it's hard while you're seeing it, it's even harder when you're doing it. And I'll give you an example. I went hiking with my brother all by ourselves. First time we're being to that route. We just read about it briefly. And then there were signs somehow. It's an easy route. It wasn't a complicated one. And then we actually got out of the route. And we figured we're not on the route now because we stopped seeing the signs or anything that makes us. But we were like, you know what? Let's check it out. We have the knowledge. He has the knowledge and I trust him and he trusts me as well. We reached to a spot where it's a drop of 40 meters, maybe 50 meters. It looks like it's a waterfall place where the water would leak from, if so, but it was dry at that time. We tried to look around and try to find a way down. We found a way down, which requires us to climb down. Keep knowledge that I don't have the knowledge of climbing, like rope climbing and all this. Yes, I understand hiking, but I never did climbing with my hands and all this. So that's a sport itself and it has a lot to learn from. But I could see that we could climb down, finding our way. But we looked at each other and like, we're here for fun. Like, it's not worth it. We have our headlights. If it became dark, we can manage it. But I mean, why? Like, it's not worth it. So we turned around and we found the route back and we did it. It took us an hour extra, but God knows what would have happened after and then what would have the situation been. I've been on a hiking trip with a guide that I trusted and I've been with once or twice. But then I figured out that the guy is not worth it because I felt he came to the hike drunk. This is what I felt.
Where was it?
Here in UAE, in Ras Al Khaimah.
And you had a certified guide. You basically rented.
Yes, we rented. Me and other strangers, people I didn't know. And the hike was supposed to be 6 to 7 hours. No, actually 5 to 6 hours. It ended to be 8 or 8.5 hours. I didn't know the area, so I couldn't act on it. And I'm not going to take the responsibility of other strangers as well. But I could manage to decide for myself, at least before anyone else. Anyways, he took us from the wrong way. So it went longer. And everybody was exhausted and tired. And then on the way down, he freaked out. It was after COVID, where they said we can't have so many people to gather. We saw a helicopter landing and he was like, they're looking for us. They were searching for someone else. And he freaked out. He went from another direction. We stopped at a cliff and he told the people we have to go down, and people freaked out. They were like, no, we're not going down from here. Long story short, it started becoming dark. Thank God I have a very strong 700 lumens headlight. I had to put people in front of me, 3 people, and just walk them using my light to guide them through the valley going down. I'm telling you, yeah.
Yes. Not like this is important, but what was the nationality of the guy?
He was either from Pakistan or India. I can't remember. But after that, I did multiple hikes with him, and his own issue is that he brings a big number of people with him in the hike. I don't like big numbers. Like
is he paid by number of people?
Everybody pays him.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, he's not paid for the trip certain amount.
Oh, no. He's paid per person. Per person. Yeah.
Well, then that's the problem, right? because
that's why I said you have to make sure that you're going with the right person. Despite him being certified, he might not be the best certified person.
How can you get a certification in this?
I think there's a lot of areas or places. Sorry, not areas. Places to go to. Like here, for example, I think Burgeril, they opened up here in UAE.
Okay.
They're very famous, so they teach you all the survival requirements, and you get courses and you get trained, and then you get the trading license here in UAE. So you register a company as a touring company or adventure company, and you list out the services that you can offer. Okay. So I'm sure the government has its list of requirements that you can do.
So it's not like a freelance person?
No. So I'm sure you have to have the license for the emergency training and all this kind of things, and so I'm sure the hiking community has its way to get certified and being licensed, and so to prove yourself. So yeah, this was one of many stories that happened. We heard about people that get lost, people they get dehydrated or heat stroke and they died.
when you go for hike overnight,
Yes.
you taking more stuff with you?
I don't do overnights in UAE.
You don't do?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
And even when I traveled or when I did it in Nepal, for example, I was supposed to be in Everest Base Camp literally now, this period.
Okay.
But I just canceled the trip because I'm too busy at work. Like my friends, they're literally in Nepal at the moment, heading to Everest Base Camp.
Cool.
So they wouldn't carry also their stuff because we count on what they call the tea houses or the villages on the way. So you sleep in these places. So it's less hectic because you don't need to carry. But yes, people who do overnight, they have to carry extra stuff with them. And that is more aggressive on the body, on the experience. And so you can carry stuff as a tent and so, but it has to be easy to carry and small enough to carry around. Like I did the last year, for example, I did Stairway to Heaven. It's the longest route in the UAE and the toughest. And I met a group of people who were doing it on 2 days trip because they were doing the overnight. So I saw the stuff. It's a lot. Like I did it in 9 hours, chilling kind of hike. I could be shorter, but just why?
Why?
Exactly why. We're here to enjoy.
Why to push it?
Yeah, and I saw them. They had extra stuff, and they were like, "We're here to have fun as well, but we're taking it easy. So we're sleeping on the way, and we have all the stuff with us." What was
the story of your brother rescuing his friend?
Well, it wasn't his friend. So there were 3 people. Mm-hmm. It was male 2 years ago, and the guy was fasting. And there were
Ramadan.
2 girls, and it was Ramadan. The guy was fasting, and there were 2 girls with him. And they went to a hike in Korfakan, to the secret beach. And
can you somehow describe what it looks like there?
I never did it because I always understood that it's an easy hike.
I've been there.
Okay.
And that didn't go as planned as well because we just got stuck with some stuff here. Mm-hmm. And till the time we came there, it was 12 p.m.
Okay.
So it was very hot. Very hot. Mm. It was...
Which month?
May maybe as well. Yeah, it was already hot. Very hot. Yeah. However, Tima did the research. She knew how long it's supposed to be, how far it is. There is the map right before you start at the bottom. Yeah. And we had, no kidding, 5 liters of water each. Oh maybe God, just okay. Like I am very thorough with this. The shoes and stuff, like I just had my nanos for CrossFit, like nothing extra for a big terrain. Exactly. But it wasn't a terrain. Mm-hmm. Like it's actually a path, right? Dusty, but path. Mm-hmm. And we're just going. And it was maybe 1.5 hour up. Okay. And that's like, I just have to say, Tima, with her uphill hiking speed, it's like I would have been there probably twice as fast, not rushing. She's just like super enjoying it. Okay. Like from foot to foot. Usually I did way more. I covered way more distance just because I went somewhere and I was like, okay, I lost her again. I went down again, waited for her a bit or went and just this up and down. Then there is this kind of space, what you're describing, the secret beach is at the bottom. And it's like kind of a crossroad because you have multiple ways and there is a shade in that crossroad. So we like stayed there. And on the way back, after reaching the peak, on the way back, we tried a different road on the way back. Done. So we went more to the seaside, not to the Fujairah city side. Okay. Yeah. And, there was like nothing major, but in that weather, we had no extra water anymore. Yeah.
That's crazy because you know the importance of being hydrated. This is why you drank everything.
I also took it as the hike wasn't that
nasty.
The hike wasn't that challenge. The challenge was the weather we were doing it at, and we were aware of it as we arrived. So
see, I'm not a big fan of hiking in heat. It's not enjoyable. It's not healthy. It's not good for your mind, for your body. It's not healthy. Last year, I just got mad. I wanted to stop and scream at the people. I was scuba diving in August. And scuba diving, you're in water, in the sea, and then the boat, you're in the shade. Like, you're not risking yourself, and there's ice box next to you and all this. Everything is around you. 1 p.m. July or August. And humidity was like fog, like 80%. And there's people parking at this Rainbow Valley, and they wanted to go for a hike at 1 p.m. I'm like, why? Like, the mountains are there. They will never go.
For a couple of thousand years, they've
been there, and they were before you. They'll stay after you. So why are you doing this in summer? Like, it's mad. Like, even if you carry you had a donkey that carries your water with you, it's incorrect to do it. Like, it's not healthy. Do something else.
Okay, what happened on the secret beach then?
So yeah, they reached to the point where you said the top part. One of the girls decided to stay in the shade, and then the other girl and the guy, they went down to the beach. On the way up, the guy felt tired, so he had to break his fast. He was fasting.
I mean, I assume this is exactly the same place we're talking about.
Yes, it is. Yes.
And it's not really far from that shade to the sea.
Yeah,
it might be like 20 minutes.
Well,
but of course he was fasting. He was exhausted.
Yes, yeah. I heard the story from my brother, who was there after that, and he heard it from the lady that contacted him. And the guy couldn't continue. He managed to drink only half a bottle of water, and he asked the girl to go and find help. So he pointed the direction for her. Apparently it was the wrong direction, so she ended up on a different corner than the other girl. So she contacted my brother, who asked her to give her his exact coordinates. And he managed to tell her where to head as a direction to reach to the civilization. And then he managed to call the other girl, tell her direct her, and then he drove all the way there. Reminding you, this was after COVID, barely allowing you to stay under 10, because of Ramadan, so after 10 p.m. you're not allowed. I knew about the situation at 9 p.m. because he sent a rescue message. Every person is capable. Can you please attend? And there's something called UAE hikers. They're professional hikers, etc. Extreme type. They managed to recall. Until I packed my bag and reached there, I wouldn't have time, so I would be fine. I couldn't go. And we looked for him all night. The police was involved in this. They sent a helicopter with
So they couldn't find him?
No, they couldn't find him. At 4 a.m., my brother was exhausted. He came back. They found him once the light was out. The sun was up. And they found him at 6 a.m. He was just dead.
And in the meantime, there was this mess up, right? Because they found somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, I forgot to mention. They saw a helicopter land, and while my brother was at the bottom with the other two girls, and they were like, okay, so they picked up the guy probably. Let's take you to the police station to write the statement, because they called the police and the police came for help. So when they were in the police station, another two guys came in, and they were like, I don't know why the police pushed us to come here. And the police told him, is this your friend? He was like, no, these are not our friends, There was a misunderstanding.
So basically, the police helicopter
landed on people that didn't need help.
Picked up random people who were there.
They didn't pick them up. When they went down, they were like, we don't need help. Why are you here? So the police were like, you have to report for us.
Oh, so they took them anyway?
Yeah, no, they because their car was parked below, and the police were. We knew the car. They told them, you have to come to the police station. You have to report to the police station. So when they went, they were like, I don't know these guys. These guys don't know these guys. So
why we were interrupted?
And guess what? The police didn't allow my brother to go and search for him. They were like, you're not certified. But he insisted as a human act to go and search for himself. And I think the local guy who is building the path, or he managed to build it as a path for everyone to do it, he sent his people or his helpers to go and look as well. They couldn't find him, unfortunately.
They found him in the morning.
They found him in the morning, yeah. Well, I heard a lot of stories like this. I remember, I know a story of a girl that passed away and everybody left her. I think she had a heat stroke and she fainted, so she landed on her head. She died. It could be one of those two. Either heat stroke, death, or because of being unconscious and land on her head. A guy decided to carry her, but everyone else just left her because they were all exhausted and tired, and it was also in the same period in May or June, something around that. So yeah, you hear a lot of these stories, and this is why even in the desert we had incidents. I rolled once over in the desert in a very stupid way. I was parked incorrectly, and I just rolled.
Like in the car?
Yeah, in the car. I didn't have my seatbelt on because I was sitting down. It was a lesson, but all the damages were exterior. Nothing happened to me. Nothing happened to the car. I could drive it, and I drove it for the next 2 days in the desert.
So you landed on the wheels?
I landed on the wheels. Yeah, I took a full roll, literally full roll. But I was lucky because the roof was there. If I didn't have my roof, I would have flown from the car because I didn't have my seatbelts on. Yeah, and we face a lot of incidents where there's problems in the cars. There's incidents, rollovers, like multiple of rollovers has happened either on high speeds or low speeds, whatever it is. And you can see the need and the knowledge that you require to know where are you and what you're doing, at least the basics, who to call. Because 911 and 999 is not the number. There's other numbers that are healthier or better for the exact rescue thing, for the helicopter to come and pick you up, the police will connect you, but there's a faster way.
Yeah.
There's the knowledge of how to react and how to act, because panic is not the solution, and all these kind of things, and it all comes with experience, of course.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, you can learn theoretically only some parts, and then once the shit goes wrong, then you can
absolutely
kind of get your experience.
You can read as much books as you can. You can watch as much programs and videos and take online courses. But if there's no practical training, then it's never happened.
I also heard of this secret beach we were talking about before. Like, it's a weird spot. I have some friends who are also going there. And now when we were there with Tima, there is a sign that's forbidden.
No hiking, yeah.
It's forbidden to go down there because it's kind of like, it's not, well, it is part of the area, but it's not part of the main hike, right? It's a little bit of off-road there. Yes. Also, the path, I'm not sure if it's really built because it was pretty much only rocks there. Very, very shallow. Yeah. It wasn't steep or anything, but it was going on the rocks. Yeah. And these couple of friends, they went there. They didn't have enough water. They went to the beach and they were eventually, I don't know how they connected, but they were rescued by some fishermen.
Probably the boat, maybe, on the boat.
The boat went around. Maybe he saw them. Maybe he was in that bay or whatever, but he went
because when we scuba dive, sometimes we scuba dive close to it. So we pass, right? And I remember as a child, the school took us as a trip with the boat to that the beach because it wasn't accessible before except from that. So maybe the fishermen saw them. They were lucky.
They were lucky. They were lucky. They were literally saved by this.
I'll tell you a funny story about scuba diving. We once went for a night dive, and we didn't go on a speedboat. We went on a dhow boat, the wooden one, the big one. The whole trip was incorrect. The dive center was very good, but the boat driver or the captain, whatever you want to call him, was not good. He didn't have a GPS. The weather wasn't good. Like, everything was incorrect. And we jumped down as 9 people. We came up as 8. So yeah, we're supposed to be like, when diving, you dive as 2 because you're buddy up.
Okay.
And my buddy and myself were the last people we call a sweeper. While off-roading, while doing hiking or doing anything, the last person is called a sweeper because he sweeps everyone in front. Like, he doesn't move until everybody's...
He's making sure that everything's
clean.
Front.
Yeah, everything's clean. So we were the sweepers. And we came up, we're counting and like, oh, where's this guy? And this guy was a master diver. Like, he knows what he's doing. So we're calling the boat. The boat were like, did you see this guy? No, we didn't see him. Have you seen him? No. We got into the boat. This was 9 p.m. The story ended at 2 a.m. in the morning. The guy was lost. We couldn't find him. Apparently, he came up. They both saw him. They were like, come here in the boat. They were like, no. Because it's not a speedboat. They didn't come next to him. The boat was anchored, the big boat. And he's like, no, I'm going to find them. So he went down and apparently...
Like, dived again?
Yeah, dived again. It's dark. Look, we only count...
What? Like, how you... I mean, okay, he was a master diver, whatever that means.
Yes.
But, like, he lost people in the water?
No, he lost us. He was a buddy with someone else. Like, he's not even the instructor. He's a buddy with someone else, but he lost his buddy. And I blame his buddy as well because his buddy was supposed to say, hey, where's my friend? You know?
Okay, so how you were paired up when there was 9 of you?
So the instructor is the first person.
Okay. So the instructor
and then
is
every two is together.
independent,
Yeah. So the instructor knows the place and.
Oh my God. And then he just like, oh no, I will find them and dives again.
Yeah, exactly. Look, how we find each other. Your light is not supposed to be off anyway. Your light is on all the time. And we attach, those night things that you break?
Yeah, this chemical light.
Yes, you attach it to the cylinder so that the person in front of you, behind you can see you. If it's blurry or if it's in the dark or whatever, that's night anyway. Because honestly, once you switch it off, you don't see anything. You see where your light is spotting. Anyway, we got into the boat. They called the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard came with the boat with a big gun on front of it. They picked the instructor and they start searching on the beach. This was in front of, we were doing the night dive in front of Sandy Beach, the small island, Snoopy Island. And they checked for him for 2 hours. The stress was on for 2 or 3 hours. I threw a joke. I was like, can you imagine the guy being in a taxi, just sitting up with his sweatsuit and mask on and all this? What do you call it? The Coast Guard came back again, dropped the instructor to the boat. We didn't know what to do. Suddenly the Coast Guard comes back again. They are asking about his name. Yes, it's this guy. The guy took a taxi, literally, to the port, which was 20 kilometers away. His phone and all his stuff was in our boat. I don't even know how he paid the taxi.
Okay, but how he got
exactly.
out of water?
So when he decided that he didn't find us, and the current was pulling him out, he came out to shore. He came out on Sandy Beach. So the security saw him and was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I was scuba diving." "What do you mean you're scuba diving?" Anyways, so he took him to the reception. They took his name and number, or his information. And then they let him go. Instead of him saying, that's the boat, we're 400, 500 meters and a kilometer in. You can point out, I need help, I need to reach these people. So,
or at least let them know, right?
Exactly.
Like even you're not going back for whatever crazy reason, but like...
Smart action from the reception, they called the police and they reported him. So the communication between the Coast Guard and the police after a couple of hours managed to reach that the guy was found in the port. And we had to write back being upset and angry that we're late or the stress, la 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 la. And we met him. He's like, "Hey guys," I wanted to slap him. So yeah, again, okay, he's a master diver. He's an adult. He's mature. He's older than me. And I didn't know him personally.
But all of this, what you just said, yeah? He's a master diver. He's older than you. He's
mature. He has the knowledge.
Like he should. That apparently doesn't mean anything, right?
Exactly. See, that's the problem. He didn't use all that to make sense. So in the situations like these, always think about the logical actions and things that make sense. Being stressed and being anxious and being worried and so will not solve the situation. You'll have to breathe, take a minute, absorb the situation, and act accordingly. Act to whatever your resources are. Your current resources or your mental resources as knowledge. What do you have in your mind and what you can act with? Because with the stress, you can't think. You'll have to breathe and calm down. Think about it and act accordingly.
Yeah. I heard this. This is from. There is this channel on YouTube. This is called "Life is a Special Operation."
Okay.
It's very interesting. Mm-hmm. Like the guy is ex-military person. I'm not sure which unit, but I think he was enrolled also with Army and also Navy in US. Okay. So both sides. Yeah.
So good. Yeah.
And he has a lot of little short 8 to 12, max 15 minute instructional videos. And it can be anything from like, how is military training going in this and this? What this course means, what this course will teach you. But then he has also like survival tips and basically literally life is special operation attitude. Like everything what you're dealing with mentally, physically, you can kind of consider yourself a special operator.
Okay.
Yeah. And the first thing always when something goes wrong is to stop.
Yes.
Like stop and think what next, what are the options, what are your capabilities, and just sit down and stop. Yes. Because running around and having 1,000 ideas, neither of them is good at the moment.
Neither of them are giving you the solution. because you're not acting on one of them. You're acting on multiple of them, and it's an extra new thing that's coming out, and it's wrong.
Yeah, and you think about, what will my family say, and this. Like, you're already weeks ahead.
Yes,
but you need to be in that moment and do what is best in there.
Remember when I said about when I dislocated my elbow? I was with my other friend. You could see the camera landed on the ground.
On the bike.
On the bike. The camera landed on the ground. And you could see my face. His face, my friend's face. His face he paled and he just froze. He didn't know what to act. So look at the difference between my brother and him and how they reacted. My brother, he didn't absorb the situation, but he made me calm down so he can understand what he's supposed to action accordingly. So action on it. So yeah, it's just different way of observing.
You reminded me of one story when I finished the studying in Denmark. I was there only for one semester, and then they have usually in spring they have like old students reunions, and we went there maybe that year or following year. Some year we just went there with my brother and my best friend, who we were all together studying there, and there was this huge party. And we were free of very few foreigners who came there. Mm-hmm. Most of people were from Denmark. There were even people who studied there at 60s. Mm-hmm. Like there were 70-year-old people, like they had their own reunion. It's very well organized, so it's like not clashing, but there is a party.
Okay.
There's a party for the current students, because this is all happening. This reunion weekend is all happening while the current students are studying there.
Okay.
And they were throwing a party. And this guy, he described it later on like this. I was just dancing. He was drunk as shit, yeah?
Okay.
I was just dancing, and suddenly I see floor moving to my face. Oh. Okay. So what we saw, our perspective was that we were in this, because it was in a gym. The whole party, they set it up in a, indoor basketball court, this kind of gym. And they just set it up. Lights there, podium, whatever was needed. They know how to throw a party there. And we are just like around, and there's, you notice like, okay, people going, people leaving. When there's something happening, you see the movement is different, people rushing more and stuff. We came there, it was in some kind of like a corridor.
Okay.
And this guy is on the chair. He has around 20 other people, and he had cut above his eyebrow, basically kind of copying his eyebrow and bleeding on all sides. And everybody's just watching, because he fell down. They pulled him out of that. It was a pretty nice blood stain going after him. You could track him very easily. And you were like, what's going on? And there's this teacher, little guy, just running. I was like, oh yeah, he fell down, everybody's just so confused. And I don't drink, never. And my brother wasn't drinking for sure that time. And we just looking at each other like, the fuck? And we had car parked 2 minutes walking from the spot where we were. So I just bring the first aid kit we have in the car. Yes. We fixed the guy while everybody else was just like, oh, what is going on, And it's just like all just eyes out, pale faces, but nobody was doing anything, People he was fucking taking selfies with people there while we were trying to stop his bleeding. We were like, there was blood on him absolutely everywhere. In the meantime, they called an ambulance, and he was living like a unicorn, because we just made this whole huge patch on his head.
It reminded me of a story for the company. We had a company birthday we did it at the COO's villa, and it was an open bar. I don't drink too, so everybody was drunk. And they did this, the rabbit hop. So you jump off someone's back. So someone bends and then you just jump on.
Yeah.
So a guy and a girl decided to do it, and the girl landed.
So like the guy in front of you bends over,
yes, and you
jump over.
Yes. So they did it multiple times, and this was on the grass. The girl did the jump, and she landed incorrectly on the interlock. Landed face first.
Oh, so what else, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Face first.
So she tore her upper lip from the middle and started bleeding. Of course, the CEO at the time came. He was like, you're the only sober guy. Take her to the hospital. So her boyfriend was drunk. He used to work with us as well. Took her to the first hospital. Hospital refused doing it. They were like, she's a pretty girl. I'm not going to stitch it for her. She needs a surgeon. So I went to the other hospital. They managed to calm her down, But within this, she was unaware of what's happening. She was like, I'm not bleeding. I'm okay. I want to go home. So I took all her stuff, gave it to the nurse. I'm like, don't let her go home. And her boyfriend was also unconscious of his actions. But the funny part was, no, it wasn't the funny part. What was I going to say? Is the same. Yeah, she was like, I want to take a picture of myself. I want to do this.
Yeah.
Like, she wasn't aware of this.
To be fair, I did took picture with people, with one lady once. I took it to the hospital. Phil would remember this story so well. I remember it. Oh my God, it was a night before we were doing a competition for people as a gold box. We were organizing a competition. I had shit ton of stuff to do, like still preparing the arena. It was on the base square. There's this like grass area, and we made that as a line. So it was very nice setup. And it was night before that. So the competition was Friday, Saturday. This was Thursday night when the weekend used to be a Friday, Saturday. And I'm just sitting in the office doing some work on the computer. I don't know if it was a score sheets or judges' cards, whatever it was. And I just see Phil coming, like, pale as shit. And it's like, Paolo, like, she broke her head or something. I was like, what? So this lady, Shaden, she was, I hope I said it right. Shaden, she was so much into snatches. She was looking at her bar as it's going up, and she didn't move her head away.
She knocked herself.
She knocked herself with the bar right to the middle of the forehead. And because, bar is rough, it was empty bar. It was only drills. Practicing.
My God.
Yeah?
Full speed.
Full speed, all out, knocked herself out, and she torn the skin. So also with her, again, I made a unicorn there, like taped it down. Phil was like, what do I do? I was like, you just coach, Everybody was super distracted because if something like this happens, like, you're not going to go like, okay, I'm going to my snatches back again, right? So I don't know what he did with the class. I was dealing with her. We taped it. And, then actually I didn't even have I didn't have a driving license that time. Okay. So I was like, Shaden, I believe you. You have to make it. She was driving. Okay. I went with her, but she had to drive. And then also we somehow arranged that she was sleeping at her best friend's place because we're not sure if she's not going to be dizzy or anything. It looked okay, but it still wasn't sure. And we were waiting
But she didn't break the skull.
No, she didn't break the skull. Okay. She torn the skin, and head is always bleeding a lot. So So again, like one batch here, taped around, and then we were just waiting in the emergency room until it's her turn. So we're taking selfies. But there was a time and place for that because there was nothing else to do at that moment. Yeah.
Look, with the incidents, sometimes there's funny things that happen with it. Like when I dislocated my right ankle, I was just in the ambulance because I was with my friends in the park, and they were just sad. And I'm just making jokes. I'm in the ambulance, and what am I supposed to do? But we were making jokes at that. We understood the situation. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
I wanted to speak about something when I mentioned solo hiking, or maybe I didn't mention, but I also go for solo camping as well. I do these, but I did them only after I've learned a lot, basically, of how to survive or how to take care of myself. And I don't do it in places where I'm hard to reach. So I don't go hiking to places like it's difficult to have any help to it. I'll go to places where I'm capable to come out safe from it, or if someone is going to come and help me, will be able to.
Do you tell somebody to?
Absolutely. I trust a couple of people. One of them is my brother. Again, because we do similar stuff, despite him having other hobbies. And this is how I tell him. I tell him where I'm starting and where I'm ending. I'll tell him about the name of the route, the location. I tell him how much food I have and water. And I tell him about if my GPS is charged, if my phone is charged, how much the percentage. And I tell him this is the duration I'm expecting. And I give him an hour buffer. Maybe I decide to chill, relax, maybe make a cup of coffee or whatever.
How do you make a cup of coffee?
I carry those small... I actually have this espresso machine, the traveling one.
Nanopresso?
Yeah, the nanopresso.
Yeah, I have nanopresso as well. It's
super
brilliant.
cool. Yeah,
it's brilliant. All you need is a
hot water.
Hot water. Yes.
So I give myself a buffer, like I put the duration myself, it depends. And if I didn't call you within that time, just please check on me. And if not, then take an action. Because yes, as much as you know, accidents will happen. No matter what, even if you're an expert, even if you're Superman, accidents will happen. So always be careful.
Have you ever been in a situation you needed help on the solo?
Thank God so far, no.
So you don't do camping overnight like that?
I did camping, not in the mountains, but in the desert. I did it multiple times.
Okay, but that's with the car?
With the car, yes.
That's with the car?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
with the car. Yeah.
So not camping as a
no,
part of
I'll be maybe 15, 20 kilometers deep in, but I'm just in a place where I know they would know how to reach me, and I know how to get out of it as well. And I have a GPS in my car records also my path.
I've been in the desert only a couple of times, and I've been with people who, at least to me, seem that they know what they're doing. Okay, I don't know, or they looked very confident, so I rolled with it. How can you orient yourself in a desert? Like, what I mean, we had a camp, we had a campsite which we built, and then at night we went for dunes bashing.
Okay.
And I mean, I'm not saying I have a GPS in my head, but like I can
sense of direction.
I can orient myself pretty well. But there I was like,
not possible.
What just happened? Like, how do you know that the camp is this direction? You know, maybe it was because he was driving and he was just like doing all the turns and shit. But like I was lost within 1 minute. Like, if you tell me like, find a camp right now, I was like, no, I'm staying in the car.
I think for me, I would always look for a sign. Like maybe if the moon was on my right hand, I will always consider the moon is on my right hand. If there's a light from far away, okay, this is the north part for me. Like this is where the north is. But the easiest way, have a GPS in your car.
Yeah.
And the GPS
we don't have for sure.
Okay. Well, that's very weird for him. The GPS I mean, also records your path, so you can.
We didn't go far in a means of for him.
Okay.
You know, for me it was like. Even you saying like, okay, so when moon is on your right, but
let's suppose,
but it's desert. Like,
I know,
you will turn twice, and then you're like, okay, like it's on my right, but are they ahead of me or are they behind me now?
Yeah.
You know?
Another and the most easiest way: record the location on the Google Maps, and then the Google Maps, if you look at it, it's a circle, right? But then it gives you like.
Where you go.
Like a direction.
Yeah.
So you just consider that as a lot of times my friends will be like somewhere in the desert. I'll be coming late or something like that. I don't come late. I'm always on time. But I mean, if I came late to the gather, they give me only the coordinates. So I just follow and try to reach. And it's funny, as you said, the desert is very confusing because sometimes you're like, I'm almost there, but I don't see any lights. Mm-hmm. They're literally on the dune right behind it. Literally right behind it. You just turn, oh, you're there.
Yeah, you go and suddenly you're on top of them.
On top of them, exactly. That's what happened recently. I'm like, oh, you're here.
we also had these guys, because it was 2-3 years ago for a New Year's Eve. We went to a desert. And they rented brand new Wrangler.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that these guys were expecting it to come in that shape back. It was crazy. Yeah. Like,
what did they do?
When the car came, no, they were just, I mean, they didn't damage anything.
Okay.
But they were like going for it in the dunes bashing. And the car came, when they were picking it up, it had 50 kilometers.
That's a
brand new.
He probably went to Pasjil and came back.
Yeah. 50 kilometers. Yeah. And then we went, it was near Maleha.
Okay. Yeah, that's in Sharjah.
And we set up the camp, and then we just got a call with this other guy who has a FJ Cruiser. FJ Cruiser is like, hey guys, can you come? We are stuck here. I still have videos and pictures how we were trying to yank them from the dude. Yeah, but it's very impressive when people really know what to do and really know what they're doing there.
Again, the more you spend time with anything, not desert, not mountains, with anything, you become better in it. It's like playing billiard. You play billiard.
Oh, I played
You
couple
played
of
it.
times. Like,
If you go to the table now, you might miss a lot of shots. Play 2-3 games, your hand will get used to it, and then so same thing. You go to the desert once. Same thing with photography as well. Like I'm into photography a lot, and I became better because I practiced more. Oh, this is the angle. Oh, I can try this and that. So it's all about practice.
And the tricky part about this is that you best learn from the failure.
Absolutely, failure is your biggest biggest teacher.
But that's pretty tricky when it's about
What kind of failure?
what kind of failure we're talking
Breaking
about.
your skull or just
Is it
headache?
like slipping here on this stone and almost falling, or
Absolutely.
Yeah, cool. Well, Asil, thank you so much. You
You're
have anything
welcome.
you want to add?
Yes, I might actually I would love to say is life is not bad. Life is beautiful, and you won't learn about it unless you experience it. And experiencing it is not at home. Just go out there, live, enjoy, breathe, and take care of your mental health and your physical body. It's important to you to survive.
Cool.
That's all I would say.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Paul.